All right, guys. So today we're going to be covering our version of no investment mapping. This is going to be some high-end crafting recipes, as well as a build guide update. And also we're going to cover the Atlas passive that we're at now and kind of how we're sustaining getting all these high-end recipes. So without further ado, let's get into it. If you would be so kind as to like, comment, subscribe, it does really help the channel out. And we'll get into the big in-game recipes. All right, so kind of what we're looking at here is this is going to be a Innocence Touched for our first testing ground. As you can see, the rewards are not great, they're okay. Then let's do a little bit of skipping here. And this one is Innocence Touch with Tukahama. Again, the rewards are better, but they're not like crazy good. Throwing up a portal for Tim. Then we'll go to our next one. This is adding Treant Horde, and this is when it starts to get crazy with the rewards. We did get a little unlucky here. We did get some rare currencies and all, but we did not get the exalts that we're really chasing here. I'm gonna fast forward just a little bit as this guy. The reason I'm staying dead here is just so we can tell whose currency is whose. So since I haven't left the map and he did, he's gonna pick up the currency that is allocated to him. Then I'll come back in and I will grab the stuff that is allocated for me. And so this will take just a little bit. Then let's go ahead and go to our last one. And this will be the last one of his. So his is Tukahama with Treant Horde and then Evocationist, which is a little bit different than what I am testing out. And as you can see, it gets a little bit spicier on this last one. Sadly though, no exalts. Sadly. Now, part of that is just due to the number of rerolls that Tukahama has and not getting super lucky with the actual treants. Like the treants actually were really good on this one. And then let's swap on over to mine and we can go over those reward types to see if this is something that you would be interested in doing. All right, so this is going to be my section. We're waiting just to get everybody together so we can do so we have already put in Innocence Touch is very underwhelming, which is why I'm not showcasing that one. Then we're doing Treant Horde next, and this one will have substantially more currency on it. Now you'll notice we did the order a little bit different. We kind of came to the conclusion that Treant is always worth doing second, just because you get better overall rewards that way. Then let's skip ahead a little bit. Let's go back a little bit. Then this one is adding Soul the Brine King to it. And this is where the big money is going to happen. So we ended up getting, I think, 2 Exalts and 2 Divines from just this one, not counting any other lower currency. Yeah, there it is. 2 Exalts, 2 Divines. Plus we got a bunch of Chaos, Regrets, like all kinds of good stuff. Regals, Chaos. Very, very good strategy if you want to make a lot of money. And let's go back just a hair here. And then the last one is Evocationist. The reason why we're using Evocationist instead of something else is Evocationist gives us 4 base type currencies. So it just makes our raw number bigger, which is the idea. Is we just want to get our raw number as big as humanly possible. And Treant is weird. So Treant sometimes gives you a lot of rerolls, sometimes it doesn't. This particular time it didn't give us a lot of base currencies, which is unfortunate, but that's just kind of how it goes. And then we'll swap on over to the Atlas passive as well as a build update, but that's just a screenshot of what we picked up from running this version of the map. All right, so let's go over our build update and kind of what we're using and why. We have a trigger wand with Bone, Offering, Convocation, and Life Tap. The Life Tap is just so you don't have to worry about mana management, as Absolution, when you're really casting a lot, uses quite a bit of mana, and you don't want these to be prevented because you're heavily casting Absolution. Then we have a +3 Helm with Hypothermia and cold damage to spells with +1 number of Skellies, which is the important mod on this one, not the zombies. We are using Divergent Absolution because we're using this neck, and that gives us a very significant increased cooldown recovery rate, which just allows them to spam basically constantly and destroy stuff. That's attached to Fizz the Lightning, increased critical damage, and anomalous minion damage support. The reason why we're going anomalous here is because of the chance to deal double damage. The other thing to note is you gain nothing if this goes 21 to 23, because it's basically you barely hit 3% with 20 quality. So it's going to take like another 5 to 10% before you're going to get any more double damage, just to keep in mind. So you really want +1 on this one, not quality. Then we have Summon Skellies in the chest, and that is attached to Spell Echo, minion damage, volley, and pierce. And then on our off link we have Flame Dash. That is just so we have some sort of a movement skill. Ashes of Stars cannot be overstated for this build. The quality is big, the increased reservation is big, and the +1 gem levels is big, as well as the experience gain. Where this quality is really going to be impactful is when we come into our minion gloves. So I do have Divergent Animate Guardian. The reason you want Divergent is it gives increased maximum minion life. Now this is a high investment Animate Guardian, so it has Hrothgal's Pelt, Kingmaker, it has Southbound Gloves, it has a Learcast Helmet, and it has Victario's Flight Boots. If you don't like Victario's Flight Boots and would prefer him to have a 30 movement speed boot so you don't have to use Convocation, you can do that. I would suggest using the Eater of Worlds mod that gives Brittle Ground on effect, but you have to keep him moving if you're going to do that. I also have Anomalous Ray Spectre. Again, it has more life, which is important. You want as much life on these things as you can so you don't have to resummon them. And those are both attached to Meat Shield and Minion Life, again, just to keep them up. That is what we're concerned about. Then we have our Darkness Enthroned with cast speed, max life, taunt, and fizz on one. Cast speed, max life, cold, and hinder. Hinder is really good because the number of projectiles, so you're constantly basically hindering the entire screen, which is a nice survivability layer. Then we have Precision, Tempest Shield, Molten Chill attached to caster and damage taken. You don't have to use caster and damage taken here. I just really like it. I like having that survivability option. And then in our Aegis Aurora, I have Determination, Anomalous, Summon Skitterbots. The reason for Anomalous is the increased area of effect, so more things are impacted by the Skitterbots. And then Herald of Purity. Now, Herald of Purity is a fairly significant damage boost to your Absolution since we're 100% converting it. However, it's not a big damage increase to your Skelly mages, so you could run something else here. Just kind of up to you what you would prefer to do. And then the rings are pretty simple. They just give us some chaos res, some dex, and some life, kind of what we're looking for, and some ES. As far as the passive tree, here's kind of where we're at. So you'll see I do have one cluster jewel that gives me block chance, and that is base block. Then we do have one medium that gives blessed rebirth. So this is not the super min-maxy cluster jewel, it's just what I've been able to craft so far. Then the block nodes are very important here. The reason behind the block nodes being important is you want to be max block since we don't really have a good gateway into spell suppression, since we are using a lot of uniques with this build because minions are very weird in the way they scale, so uniques tend to be very good with minion builds. And because of that, you want to have some ability to just not die, and block is our best access as far as what we have node-wise. Even though spell suppression is better, spell suppression's on the other side of the tree, so that's not going to help us a whole lot from where we want to be. Divine Shield is also very, very good. The reason why Divine Shield is very good is its damage prevented from hits is regenerated as energy shield, and block counts as damage prevented from hits. So you're getting passive ES regen through this, then you're getting active instant ES regen when you actually do block. So it gives you basically multiple layers of survival, which is very, very nice. And kind of the next couple of notes here is I'm going to fill out Tireless. Once I fill out Tireless, I will probably go into Sacrifice just to make my minions even more survivable. And then we'll probably get these Life NES nodes here. Or we may even come over here and get these Life NES nodes. Another thing you could do if you wanted to is these Chaos Res nodes are actually pretty good. They're pretty solid. This gives you, what, 12 and 18. So pretty significant amount of Chaos Res for 3 nodes. That's also a very big survivability option if you are unable to cap your Chaos Res like I am currently. Enduring Bond is also very, very good as well. I just don't have it because I am struggling with getting points everywhere I want points right now. I hope this is helpful. Let's go into our Atlas passes. I'm going to do kind of a very, very brief rundown on this. So these guys right here all add additional things in every single map, which is important. It's every single map. Then what we're doing is we're scaling the things that we're adding in and boosting those up where they're doing ridiculous things. Then we also have Essence over here. I do have one Harvest node. Eater of Worlds I find is a far more enjoyable boss, which is why I have this tree still. I do not have this tree still, as I don't find Searing Exarch a enjoyable boss, even though I will probably eventually spec back into that just for challenge purposes. But this is probably what I would rock with if I knew now what I knew at League Start. This is kind of what I would work with. We do have the Beyond stuff, just because the Beyond stuff is just nice. It's nice to have. Essentially guaranteed Beyond, which is what this mob does, even though you're not always going to get Beyond bosses. If you have a Beyond map, it gets substantially better, but it is ways to get Beyond bosses and maps that normally wouldn't have them, especially when we have some very high density things that we're bringing to the table. I do want to get all 5 of these filled out. Once I have all 5 of those filled out, then I can run Searing Exarch maps, even though I'm not really planning on doing all the invitations for Searing Exarch. But getting this in maps lets me get those essences that I can use to craft with as well, because I've really enjoyed the new crafting system. I will say Maven feels a little bit in an awkward place. We did get 3 splinters off of doing the Feared, which was really nice. So that seems to be the best way to get Maven splinters, is to do like the really challenging boss fights. All right, so I hope that this has been helpful so far. If you want to know how to juice your maps, basically what we've been doing is adding Harby, Ambush, and either Abyss or Breach or Legion, kind of whatever, Scarabs into the map, and then doing Bestiary as our mission type. And this just adds a whole bunch of rare monsters into the maps. Those rare monsters give you a better chance of getting Archnemesis currency. That way you can quickly cycle through these very high investment maps. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your days. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, Exiles.